First question someone asked me, if the IRS is eliminated, would bookkeepers still be needed? This is a good question. And of course I'm biased because I am a bookkeeper, but in my opinion, business owners would still need bookkeepers because they still need to organize their finances. They still need to know what is profitable in their business, what's making money, what's losing them money, how much are they overspending on stuff. So in order to make good business decisions, I think they would still need accurate reporting of their finances. That being said, probably a bunch of business owners would skimp on that. They would be like, oh, I don't need that, or I know close enough. So if there was some world in which we didn't have to pay taxes, I'm guessing some bookkeeper jobs would go away just because business owners would be lazy and they'd be like, I don't have to worry about that. But if they were smart, they would still use a bookkeeper. Next one is about receipt management. So I mentioned it in a video that I don't like doing receipts or tracking it in QuickBooks because I feel like it's kind of a pain. It doesn't work very well. So what do I do? How do clients deal with their receipts if I'm their bookkeeper? And the answer is they would do it in their office and they would come up with their own system. If they asked for my advice, I'd probably say a filing cabinet with month, so January, February, March, and then they could just throw the receipts in that file. Maybe it's in like an envelope in a file. And there are definitely more precise way to organize receipts if the client wants to. There's apps you can use. You could just scan them into your computer. You could do a lot of other things. I think that is a realistic way to, if you have a bunch in your wallet, to throw them in a file by month. Then if you get audited, at least you'll kind of know where they are. And then from a bookkeeping perspective, I don't use receipts to categorize transactions. I just know my clients' vendors and I can categorize based on that. All right, next, what is a realistic number of monthly clients if you're pursuing this as a side hustle? He was thinking 5 to 10 clients. And I think that's about right as a side hustle. So I had 7 clients and I was working part-time. Of course, this totally depends on how big your clients are, right? We all know that. I have a video that is called Small, Medium, and Large Clients that can kind of give you an idea of like how many hours it would take to do a small client and how much they'd pay, and then, you know, it shows each bucket. And in the question he said maybe 3 clients would be part-time, and that is possible if they are bigger clients. All right, and this leads me nicely to the next question, which is about that video, Small, Medium, Large Clients. She said that I had the 3 buckets. They're $250 for small, $500 for medium, and $1,000 for large clients. Would I change those numbers in 2025? And that is a very good question. I mean, logically, inflation has happened, and so things are costing more, so bookkeepers should cost more. If I made that exact video again, I feel like I would probably keep the same increments, just because those increments are also to kind of illustrate a general bucket of client. So a $500 client is about this amount. In reality, you might be charging clients like $650 or something. So that is kind of hard to say. I do think that like the low end client is still, some people don't want to pay more than $250, so I would keep that as the low. I think $1,000 is still pretty high for a bookkeeping client. Like finding those clients that want a bookkeeper and are willing to pay $1,000 a month is kind of hard. They're going to be making like over $2 million probably. And then sometimes at that point they get like a more full-time person or like a accountant or something that's sitting in their office. So I don't know, I guess I wouldn't change the video, but I do think you as a bookkeeper should be changing your rates every couple of years, especially because you're getting more experienced. And as you learn more things, you can charge more or get more specialized. And then of course, you're also probably getting faster at those clients. So if you have that tiny client that's $250, maybe when you first started that took you 5 hours a month, but now that only takes you like 2 hours a month. So you're getting paid more for your time kind of with the fixed rate because the rate stays the same, but you might work faster or slower. And I have these questions organized into 3 different buckets you'll notice. So the first section that I'm doing now is ones that I've never answered before. So totally new ones that I was like, ooh, this is an interesting question. And then the second bucket is questions about like me, my business, like why haven't I done this? Or, you know, questions that are more related to me. Then the last section is questions for bookkeepers who are just starting out. So something that I might have answered or made a video about in the past, but I'm still getting those questions a lot from new bookkeepers. So if you're a newer bookkeeper, make sure you stay tuned for those questions. All right, I thought this was a really good question too. If I had a list of 10 businesses that I pulled out of the phone book, how would I determine if they were small, medium, or large clients, and how would I want to approach them as a possible client? So in my opinion, if you just have their name or their website or their, phone number from the phone book, you probably don't know their size. You could possibly tell depending on how many employees they have, because if they have more than 5 employees, they're going to be like medium to large usually. So you can glean as much information as you can from their website, but then it's going to take some more digging to figure out how big they are. So talking to them is a good first step. Ask how many bank accounts they have. Do they write checks? Do they want you to do payroll? Sometimes it's not even like how many transactions they have per month. It's also like, what are all the extra stuff they want you to do? Do they want you to do bill pay, invoicing? Like what all is gonna be involved in helping this client? So what services do they need? Payroll is another big one. And depending on like what bookkeeping class you're taking, my favorite one is linked in the description box. And what they teach is that you should do a review of the books, so you're able to see what's going on in the books, if it's messy, how big it is, and then from there you quote the client a price. So you're not really quoting prices until you figure out, what you're getting into. So you actually get access to the QuickBooks account before you're quoting them anything. All right, next question. Is a bookkeeper expected to file and pay monthly and quarterly taxes for their clients, both sales and payroll? Okay, so there's a few things happening. Usually as a bookkeeper, I'm not paying taxes for my client. So some of these tasks could fall into maybe a bookkeeper's job. Quarterly taxes, I never pay for clients because I think it's like their own IRS account. Like they would have to give me access to the IRS account, and that just doesn't happen. Not that it could never happen, but I don't know. That just seems more personal, I think. So they're paying their quarterly taxes. And then payroll taxes, I don't do manual payroll, so I always have a payroll company. So Gusto, my payroll company, or whichever payroll company you're using, they're the ones that are paying payroll taxes. So I actually don't have to do anything for that. It's just kind of automatic. I just have to make sure that I'm categorizing in QuickBooks and that the reports look good at the end of the year. And sales tax, honestly, I don't know about sales tax. We don't have sales tax in Oregon where I live. And I've had a couple clients in another state, but I've never had to deal with sales tax. I actually don't understand how it would work. So I've never dealt with that. If it's like a store and some of the money is going to sales tax to the state and some is going to the business. So let me know in the comments if you have dealt with that. And as a bookkeeper, what is your role? I'm guessing that there's some kind of automated way that the taxes are collected. All right, and then another question about taxes. I'm not a tax preparer. I've done a couple of videos about taxes and quarterly taxes just as a bookkeeper business owner, so you can go watch those if you want more information. But really quickly, this person asks, if you pay quarterly taxes, do you have to file a report during tax season? Yes. And their question is basically like they're getting a 1099 in January. That's when 1099s are sent. So that is the point of confusion. If you don't get your 1099 until January, how much taxes do you pay throughout the year? So the short answer is yes. If you make enough money, you still have to pay quarterly taxes throughout the quarter. The quarterly taxes are literally called estimates. So I think of it as like get as close as you can in the quarterlies 4 times throughout the year. And then at the end, during like tax time in April, they're going to tell you if you were correct in your estimates. So you do have to still file taxes, and then they'll tell you, did you pay too much or too little, and you'll make up the difference. And then I had 2 questions about ChatGPT. I've made a couple of videos about that recently, and obviously it's like a big topic right now. So one person asked, do I pay for ChatGPT? I do pay for it. I'm kind of forgetting now what prompted me to pay for it, but at some point they were like, would you like this ability to do this thing? Maybe it was like upload a file or something, and I wanted that, and so I was like, I'll pay for it. It's a business expense that I pay for, ChatGPT, because I use it for my business. And then another question was, I don't know where to start. I'd like step-by-step instructions, please. So do check out that other video. I would say if you're totally a beginner and you want to do just one thing that's really simple, have it write for you. So write an email to a client and put all the information you want in there, and then just run it through ChatGPT. Just open the literal website, ChatGPT. It's free. There's a free version that you can use and just do simple things. And just write the prompt. Make this sound more friendly and more concise. That's what I do, because sometimes I'm too wordy. So then it'll just read all the content of what you wrote and just word shop it a little bit. So that is a really good place to start. You can also just have it do a bio for your website. Just have it write one thing for you. And I got this question a lot, so I thought I just included it in here. How do I get in touch with your friend that helps pass the QuickBooks certification? So this is my friend, my internet friend, Margie, and she now has a business called Acadian. And so they do different classes, and one of them helps you pass a bookkeeper certification, which is the free QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor certification. So if you're looking for my discount code for that program, it changed. And so I think there was like a month where I didn't have it correct in my description box and stuff. So it should be correct in my description box now. I don't want to say it wrong, but I think it's FinePoints 15, and use my link. And it genuinely does help out me and my small business if you use my affiliate links for some of these things. It's no cost to you, but it just gives me like a small commission saying that I recommended you. All right, this person asked, how much of your business is setting up books for new businesses or businesses upgrading to QuickBooks from other systems? Very little. So setting up a new QuickBooks file only happens like once or 0 times for me for each client, because sometimes they come already with a QuickBooks file set up. And occasionally from other systems. I just was reading in the forum about someone trying to switch from Xero to QuickBooks, and it didn't seem to be very compatible. So they just started a new QuickBooks file to take over where Xero left off. So not very often at all. I actually have been meaning to do a YouTube video about setting up a QuickBooks file, but then I'm like, oh, I'll have to remember like how to do it. I think it's really easy. You just it walks you through the steps, but I don't do it very often at all. Okay, this question I didn't really know the answer to. Basically, they're asking if a client has 2 businesses, more than one business, are they supposed to be combined in QuickBooks? Or do you treat it separately and charge them a monthly price for each business? I would probably say treat them differently and charge them a monthly price for each business. Maybe it would be like working out a deal with them, like they're referring you to their second business or something, then you could cut them a deal like, oh, if you do, all your bookkeeping with me, I'll give you this much off. And that could be a tax question as well. I'm assuming that the 2 businesses are separated, paying separate taxes. And I mean, technically you could probably figure out a way to combine them in QuickBooks using like tags and doing 2 profit and losses, but I would not do that. I would just charge them for 2 separate businesses. All right, I think I've been talking for a long time now, so I am going to probably make a part 2 of this video to do the rest of my questions here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A, and I will talk to you again next week.